time to shuffle up. With Duncan, Jeff, and Sloan, let's fill our cups. Commander decks in hand, the battle's about to start. A podcast for the legends, where magic meets the heart. Commander's Pod, where the stories unfold. With heroes and villains, new and old. Duncan, Jeff, and Sloan guide the way. In the world of EDH we play.
Hello once again. Welcome to Commander's Pod. My name's Duncan.
I'm Sloan.
And I'm Jeff.
And thanks for joining us today. Today we're going to talk about, this is the day after New Year's Day, so we're going to talk about the year that was and the year to come. Year in review and year in preview, I guess, is the best way to put it.
Even rhymes.
Yeah, it does.
Amazing.
We're going to talk about, I had some games that I'll talk about. Had some more games with Lewis. We've talked about Lewis before. He's a newer Magic player.
Did you kill him right away again?
Almost. I brought him to a 2-life.
Horrible person.
Golly day.
It wasn't. I can't remember the situation, but yeah. Anyway, we're going to talk about the new tier system and our thoughts on how we feel about that now that we've had some time to ruminate. Jeff's going to talk about his triggers, and Sloan's going to have a card for us to check out.
Yeah, card of the day.
Yep. So let's get into it. So the games I had recently. So Lewis, I was playing with Lewis and Bryce and, oh my word, that's awful. There's another newer player that I cannot remember his name now. I think it's
Now
Richard.
you own a pack of cards.
I think it's Richard. But anyway,
Shame.
and so we had some good games, and then Andrew joined us later, but we still had some good games.
Did
And
you kill him first?
I did.
Oh,
Oh my word. And so, first of all, he won the first one he sat down.
It's
The
pretty
second
typical.
one he sat down, he called it Vengeance Game because he was sitting up nicely. Like he was getting his little board state. He was playing Karlov at the Ghost Council, I think it's called.
Old school.
Yeah, whenever you gain life, it gets a +1/+1 counter.
Right.
And if you pay, I can't remember how much mana, and remove 6 counters, you can exile target creature.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he was gaining some life. But the whole time, I'm sitting there with Cyclonic Rift in my hand. I have Rapid Hybridization and Reality Shift. So I have some answers. I'm not so worried about it.
All right.
But somebody board wiped, or tried to, and he countered it. And he was rather smug and started just moving on with the game like nothing happened. I go, hold on just a minute. And I countered that. And he's like, ooh, Duncan. So then it came back around to his turn. And he started building up his board state again. He goes, vengeance will be mine. But I know that I still have these other answers that I still haven't used. And so then I think I Cyclonic Rifted Overload. And he's still yelling about vengeance. And he gets his stuff. He puts it right back out. I mean, he's got so much value. His board state barely suffers. The next round it's back out. But he can't attack yet.
Yeah.
And it hasn't gotten counters yet. But he's gaining life on everybody's turn, like it's getting up there.
Right.
And then I rapid hybridization did or something. And so he never got his vengeance. He ended up getting killed first. I swung at him and killed him. I was playing my Illuge deck that I've talked
Someone
about.
got
Yeah. That's a gross.
And then
him.
and then the next game he was very quiet about it, but I know Andrew.
Yeah.
He was planning his vengeance for that game. But the whole table at that point was like he won the first game. He had great value the second game.
Right.
They just went right at him.
Yes, welcome to the advice part of this podcast, which is don't announce your vengeance when you're trying to get it.
Yes, quiet vengeance is the
yes,
best vengeance.
Best to allow it to speak for itself.
Yeah. Vengeance
Right.
is a dish best served cold.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was a lot of fun. I did, like I said, I almost killed Lewis. I brought him to 2
With
life.
Wolverine again?
No, I was playing, it was actually with the Avengers deck.
So you just do damage to Lewis.
Yeah.
Poor
Well,
Lewis.
I didn't even, number one, I think I thought he was going to block and he didn't.
He does seem to have that problem.
Yeah. The other thing is that I knew I wasn't going to kill him,
Right.
so
But you didn't completely know.
yeah, but I did after I did it. The
Yeah.
thing is, when I'm in a game,
Yeah.
I'm in the game. I'm not thinking about, the last time I played him, I almost killed him. I was
Yeah.
thinking about it when I sat down,
Yeah.
but this was like early on and I totally forgot about it. by the time I'm in the moment and I'm like, okay, who am I going to swing at? He seemed like the likeliest target, so I swung at him.
Right.
I didn't kill him first, so it was okay. And I actually later on even showed him how he could gain some life back, and because he played a clone, somebody else was playing the black-white vampire commander that has lifelink and death touch, and you can either
Okay,
double the life you gain or double the life they lost.
Right. Yeah.
You know, so he was going to clone something and he was going to choose something else. I go, dude, you're at 7 life. You want that.
Yeah.
You want that right there because that's going to gain you lifelink, and then you can do it again to double it. So he took that, and he came back to like 16 to 18 life or something, and so he was better off.
Yeah,
But
and it does make it's hard to play the game at 2 life. Like,
yeah, so he came back and like he didn't necessarily win that game, but he came back and I showed him how to. I kind of made up for it by showing like, don't clone this.
Yeah.
This is what you need. So, but they were some good games. It was a lot of fun. We're getting a lot of new players at the shop, which is awesome.
Yeah, that's good.
Yep, I'm really enjoying that. But
Hopefully they'll grow that shop. It'd be cool if they were able to get a little bit of a bigger place.
so what's funny is they
maybe
were
open one in
offered.
Venice.
Oh gosh,
Yeah,
please.
that'd be awesome, right? For you guys. I don't want to drive all the way up here.
We
Anyway.
never see Duncan except for at work.
Uh,
Jeff still wouldn't make it to the shop.
Yeah, no, he still wouldn't.
That's all.
It could be at the house next door to
Yeah,
him.
he could be at that crack house across the
But there's
street.
no crack house across the street.
It used to be.
That's down the road.
That's down the road.
So let's talk about, are we looking forward to the new tier system?
So have they ironed it out
No,
yet?
they have
Are
not
we
announced
looking
it.
forward to the new tier system we know nothing about.
Well, we know kind of about it. They've said what it's gonna be. We just don't know the final form
yeah,
or what
but
cards.
we had an idea, and then some influencers spoke up, which is good for them. And then
Yeah, at
they
least
were
they
like,
listened.
oh, let's go back to the drawing board on this because it wasn't going to be.
I don't
what
think they really said that. I think they were like,
pretty
well,
much did.
well, but they said probably after the new year. They didn't say immediately after. I mean, it's not coming right up.
Yeah.
But are you looking forward to some sort of tier system?
Yeah, in the sense that it will make discussions and arguments hopefully easier. Like if someone sits down and they're busting out Edgar Markov, like some degenerate people do, and I might have done. And then my Edgar Markov really doesn't have a ton of like really cheap ramp in it, but you could do that on top of it.
Right.
And if you're doing that, and then it adds up to where your deck is this really powerful deck, you can't argue that it's not that powerful.
Yeah, I mean, it would be nice if there is an actual sanctioned way, I guess is the best way to put it, to determine your tier
Yeah.
of where you're at. So, I mean, I am hopeful. I hope they do it right. I will say the one thing that I saw that I feel like is the most accurate is the website that Andrew brought up when he was on the podcast called Commander Salt. It goes down to the decimal point of where it thinks your power level is at based off of all the different factors it does into it, which in my opinion is what it needs to be. Like
Well, but even
it's
that's
much
not
bigger.
complete because it doesn't have a synergy.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, it does, but I've checked it out and it's not as all-inclusive as you'd think. There's things that have synergy it's not tracking.
Sure, but
I mean, that's hard for them to do. This is an independent
Great
product.
start, though.
right, but the level of accuracy that has comparative to anything else we have
Yeah.
is leaps and bounds.
I
above
think
it.
that is.
Problem
And I
it
hope-
has is it doesn't have the authority.
Right.
Right.
And that's the thing is I hope that whatever they're coming out with is closer to that than what they showed us. What was it, 2 months ago?
Yeah.
No, more than that. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
if they're just gonna randomly be like, oh, if you have a
No, it was 2 months ago. It was October.
if you have a Mox
Okay.
Opal in your deck, you're tier 1, right?
Yeah.
You're the best tier. And it's like, what?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Ancient tomb. If
Yeah.
you have an ancient tomb was the example they gave, then you're a tier 4 for having that one card.
Which we played it. when
You
we
could have
played
99
Ancient
forests.
Tomb 100% killed.
You could have 99 forests in an ancient tomb and you're a tier 4.
That's wild.
Yeah.
I mean, they were trying to come up with it
Yeah.
quickly. They weren't ready to talk about it yet.
Right.
But they wanted to give people something because of the turmoil.
At least they are trying.
Yeah, and I think it could work. I don't think the way they said it could work. One card should not set your level. It needs to
Right.
be the aggregate of what your cards are
Right.
and what their synergy is and how fast and how powerful it is.
Now, sometimes your commander can set your level. It's like there are some commanders.
Oh, yeah,
It doesn't
like
matter
Edgar
how you
Markov.
build it, it's gonna. Well, Edgar Markov, you could potentially build that where it's not good. Pretty
I mean, if
easily.
you put
don't
no
put-
vampires
yeah,
in
put
it.
zero
Exactly,
vampires in
put
it,
zero
yes.
vampires.
But I mean,
But that's intentionally that's like saying you can make Urza bad too. Just don't put any artifacts in it. It's okay, yeah.
It
You can
was-
make any deck bad by putting 99
that's like an
lands in it.
undeck. Like you're
Yeah.
not building a deck. You're
Yeah.
using it for its
So,
colors
yeah.
at that point.
Right, yeah, just put 99 lands in any deck and it's awful. Like, that's not a hard thing to accomplish. But the point is, if you were to build the deck the way it's meant to be built, if you build Edgar Markov, even if it's not built with all the fast mana, the low cost mana, all that stuff, but you just do the vampire theme,
Yeah.
it's still much stronger than a deck that
It's
yeah,
a,
it's just-
a
it's,
9.
you know.
It's an 8 or 9 on the scale for sure.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
but yeah, so I mean I am glad that they are coming out with a tier system that it will be sanctioned and by Wizards. So I'm hopeful. I'm going to lean towards the side of optimism in regards to the people working on it are very passionate about Magic and they want to do this right.
Yeah.
Realistically, I think it's going to take a while for them to tune this out and iron it out and figure it out and to get it to a point of where I think it's going to be accepted.
In our games that we play, how often is this actually a problem?
Well, for us three, no, because we play together and we know what our decks do, and we all have.
Well, until somebody pulls out Edgar Markov against two decks that are nowhere near that power level.
No, I told
He
you guys
announced
ahead
it.
of time.
Yeah, he
y'all
announced
pick what
it.
decks and I even say things like, "Are you okay with this?" Or
No,
"Do you
and
wanna
it's
pick a different
fine.
deck?"
And we knew what to expect.
Yeah.
However, it was not. He picked his deck regardless of what we were going to pick. We had already decided to keep playing the decks we were playing.
Yeah, because I don't get to play it very often. I wanted it-
I mean, I could have just pulled out Calamax or Prosper, and
Yeah,
It's-
you,
it
it's
would have been
good
the
we
same.
probably
It would-
should have done that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's good every once in a while to get to play a deck you haven't played in a
But-
long time
but-
because you want to see if the cards you added. I added cards to that, if you recall.
Yeah.
But I also
wanted to
think,
play.
similar to how you told Sloan he should talk about his triggers,
Yeah.
you should have a more in-depth conversation. Hey, I'd like to play Edgar Markov. I don't know, maybe you guys know if your decks are good against that. Why don't, if you're open to it, can we play a game where Edgar Markov is on par?
Okay,
And
I thought I did,
instead,
but I'll try
we
to be
said,
more clear.
we'll keep playing these, and you said, okay, well, I'm going to play Edgar Markov. Is that okay? That's
No,
kind of how that went.
No, it was the first deck we played.
No, that was the
No, it
second deck.
game because you played Dinosaurs first.
Yep.
Yeah, because you played Dinosaurs first because it was the
Okay,
second
I will try
Indoraptor
to be
game.
more clear. I thought
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
clear.
It
I mean,
wasn't
I
clear.
intentionally chose Indoraptor because I want to play him because I just had finished putting him together, so I was trying to get as many
Yeah,
games
it's
in
not
with him
like
as
the
possible,
game's
and
a
he's
long
trash.
time.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, no. We
Sure.
we were done turn 6.
But
Almost
are
like a
we running
CEDH
into
game.
this a lot other than teasing me? Are
No,
we running into
No,
this a lot
it does
a lot?
happen. Like, for
'Cause I've
instance,
never had
I
it.
had a run-in with Andrew the other day where he played something that had mass land destruction in it, said nothing before the game, and middle of the game wiped out all the lands.
So that's kind of an issue of like those unwritten rules where like it's less a power level and it's more like that's not a fun way to play.
Right, and
Like,
it's
I
also
don't want to play that
well,
game.
the other thing is, as I told him, certain decks of mine can stand that better and can bounce back from that better.
Oh yeah,
and it
'cause
wasn't
if
that
you're not
I-
playing ramp,
I
you're
wasn't
screwed.
I wasn't super salty about the effect. I was a little saltier about the fact he didn't warn me ahead of time
Right.
that this was on the table.
Yeah, so he didn't even tell you. Like,
Right.
You know, in the
And
other example
but
we
my
used.
point is, like, a tier system is going to take that into account. It's going to be one of those things I would hope that would say, hey, mass land destruction is a higher tier.
Yeah, because you have to have more ramp and rocks
It-
and things like that to be able to deal with land
'Cause this was an
destruction.
It'll be
Armageddon-
Interesting how they do it because like I don't think mass land destruction or say stacks is necessarily a higher tier level.
I think
It is not a fun way to play the game though.
I think salt is going to have an effect on the score.
I mean, it should. It absolutely should because I think I'm gonna go against you. I think it is a higher tier level because if you're running decks like that, there is specific reasons why you're running that type of deck. Like for example, you have the Kalia chick, right?
Yeah.
The white, blue, black. No, white, black, red.
Yeah.
Where you do that because you don't have to pay for anything anymore and you're going to set everybody else back. Well, if you're doing that against other high tier decks that have more rocks in it and more ways to cheat out cards and things, that's not as effective of a strategy, right? As opposed to a deck that has 0 ways to come back from you destroying all of
So
its
there's-
lands, which most casual decks are.
So there's two discussions. One is you can build a land destruction deck. So Kalia's not one, but it does have some in it. You could build a land destruction deck that is powerful. But you could build a land destruction deck that is not powerful, and you could build a stacks deck that is very powerful. You could build one that's not that powerful. Whether the deck is powerful or not, I would not want to play against stacks that often because the games run long. They take forever. It's a different play style.
Same with
And
starting
same with
over
land
online.
destruction because you're starting over a
Well,
lot.
some
But
decks.
my point is there's no way to make a deck that is a stacks themed deck or a land destruction deck where it's going to be below a certain level. Like the floor is a lot higher comparatively to other decks.
Well-
Because the whole point is if you're building a land destruction deck, you have ways, if you're building it somewhat right, to not have that affect you. Same thing with stacks. If you're building a stacks deck,
You're
it's
not-
because you're intentionally building it in a way that's not affecting you as much.
Or
which
you
means
you
that
want the longer
Right,
game.
which means the floor on it is higher than other
But
games
you're
floors.
arguing a different point than
No,
us.
I'm not. I'm
You
arguing.
100% are.
You're
What I
talking about
said
power
is-
level.
No, what I said was it's not necessarily a tier one. It's not necessarily a high powered thing. I didn't argue whether it's more powerful than an average deck. What I said was you can have a land destruction deck that isn't as powerful as Edgar Markov, but it's still not fun to play. That's my point.
Right.
And if you're saying what you're arguing now is it's not ever going to be as weak as some decks. Okay, fine, but it's also not necessarily.
Well,
gonna be
you're
as
both
powerful.
saying the same things but different ways. It is going
We're
to
saying
affect the
different
tier.
things.
It
I think we're
affects the
saying
tier.
different things.
You building stacks or land destruction automatically makes it a higher tier.
I don't think it does.
I think it does because it can't be like you can't if again
I
we're gonna use their
challenge you. So tier one's the lowest power.
Yeah, so one
Tier four is the high. We don't know what it is. I challenge you to build what you think is a tier one mass land destruction deck.
No. That's his argument that you can't build a weak one.
Right.
I agree, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's a 4 either.
I'm not saying it's a
saying-
He
four.
didn't say
What
that.
I'm
That's what I'm
saying is
saying.
the
When I
floor
said you're saying the same
is
thing.
higher.
We're not saying the same thing.
Yes.
He's saying it can't be weak. I'm saying it doesn't necessarily have to be strong.
Right. No,
to still not
that's
be
saying the
fun.
same thing.
It's not.
He's not saying it's a 4.
I'm-
He's
I'm
saying
not
it's
saying
not
it's
a 1.
I'm saying it like
I
if you
agree
build
with
land
that.
destruction.
Then you
or
are
you
saying the
build
same
stacks,
thing.
We're not.
You're using a different argument to say the same thing.
We're not. What I'm saying is when you're deciding how powerful a deck is, the fact that it has some stacks in it does not automatically rise it up a level. Depending on how those stacks are and what the power level of those stacks will rise that
Okay,
deck up.
build a tier 1 stacks deck.
Again, not what I'm arguing.
It
Because
is.
You could build a tier 2 stacks deck.
Right,
Hey,
which is
okay.
more powerful than the tier 1.
Right, but that doesn't mean you could do
It
that.
means
for
it is
artifacts,
more
too.
powerful than tier 1.
Artifacts, you can do the same thing. So if you have artifacts in your deck, it's automatically more powerful.
No,
'Cause you
I can build
build
a
for me
tier.
1 artifact.
Oh, I will, and it's stupid.
Well, you could do that with land destruction.
No,
too,
but I'm
just for a
saying
terrible card.
it still does good things, but it's
I
not.
would argue artifacts in and of themselves are by themselves more powerful.
Because
than a
I've
stack
seen,
for land
for
destruction.
instance, I have seen Urza decks.
Yeah.
Now, because when they get Urza out, the game changes, right?
Right.
But I've seen Urza decks that play artifacts, but they're the artifacts that you wouldn't think of. They're cheap artifacts is the reason that
So
they
you're
play them.
saying land destruction is from the get-go more powerful than artifacts?
It is like he said, the floor is higher.
I completely disagree. I think out of anything, artifacts, land ramp, like big ramp decks, especially like landfall, more powerful right out the gate than stacks or land destruction. Now, stacks and land destruction are not fun to play. I don't care how powerful it is. I don't want to be there for the table, but it's not going to win as much as landfall.
And to be clear
artifacts,
though,
or-
But
what we
both-
started
both those
talking
things you
about
just said, by the
were
way.
mass land destruction,
yeah,
which is very different from land destruction.
yeah, but that
Single target is much different.
yeah, but mass land destruction in and
but
of itself,
just-
the cards are. I
Just
don't
so you
think
know,
they're that good.
both the things you just mentioned counter land destruction. That's because if you have ramp
Yeah.
and you have artifacts, land destruction is not affecting you.
Okay, I don't
So my point is that if we're talking about the tier system that they're trying to create, and we're trying to talk about how are you going to determine what this is based off of this tier system? If you have X amount of mass land destruction, it can never be below this number. It just won't be because most decks, almost I would say 70 to 80% of casual decks have no recovery from mass land
I'm
destruction.
not arguing against that. I will defer that point. I don't care about that. What I'm saying though is just because it's land destruction, it might bring it up to a level 5, Like, right? So this land destruction
Okay,
card is rated as a
Right
5.
right now they're talking about 4 tiers, so let's
Okay,
keep
so
it that.
okay, so
One-
the-
One
one's
is the lowest.
that
4.
land destruction is a 2 as its
Okay.
power level. It's a 2. Whatever deck you put it in, it's a 2.
Right, but it
What
is
I'm
more
saying is
powerful
you
than a 1.
judge the cards based on the card when it comes to power level. But I'm saying there's a different discussion, which is I don't care how powerful it is. I don't care if it's a 2. I don't want to play that.
Right.
A lot of people don't want to play that. So if you come
So
to
a
me and
tier
you say,
system won't fix that.
right, I'm saying there's a secondary thing, and you could say, oh, because we're going to take into account salt. The deck is only a 2, but it's really, really salty, so we're going to call it a 3. I don't think that's the right answer. It's a 2, and then you have that discussion of that's not the type of game
But
we're playing.
but here's the problem with that. Andrew and I got. I don't want to call it an argument because I was being very calm.
Yeah,
It was
a discussion.
A passionate
he
discussion.
was having an argument. I was having a discussion.
So
Okay.
So it was an argument.
So,
yeah.
but I'm just saying I was being calm and trying to be rational. But regardless, he was vehemently opposed to having to talk ahead of time about what was in his deck.
Right, and he has.
And so
He has
those
the
types
ability
of
to do
players, are why they're trying to come up with a system that will integrate all of this stuff.
Right, and I think the discussion for him, it wasn't, or you tell me, was it if it was a power level of the deck, that was a discussion. If it was a play style of the deck, that's a different discussion. For instance, Johnny, you didn't bring out your turtle deck, you didn't bring out Prosper because we were trying to get as many games in as we could. We didn't want to play a long game.
So let me give you a scenario though. If they made it should have been a tier 2, right, for mass land destruction, but they decided it's a tier 3 because of the salt.
Yeah.
Then what the discussion becomes, and it becomes on the person playing it is, hey, this is a tier 3, but it's only because it's mass land destruction.
Yeah, and I would say even if they just if let's say they do that and that's how they rate it, and he just says it's a tier 3. He's allowed to do that.
He is allowed to do that.
And I
He's
would
hurting
say
himself.
That's a huge problem because what I actually care about is not that it's a tier 3.
But here's the thing. He's only hurting himself.
Yes, we're getting into the social discussion, and you're 100%
Right,
right.
but that's what I think is the general consensus is. If some people are not willing to have these conversations, give them the higher tier level and put it's on you now.
Well, but
You
so
either say, hey, it's a tier 3, but it's only because it's
let's
mass
say
land
they grade
destruction.
it even a tier 4.
Yeah.
So I sit down and I pull Edgar out, right? And I'm like, oh, let's go. And now I'm playing stacks or land destruction. I might still win the game, but it's going to take a lot longer. And that play style might not be fun to me or someone else. And that's why I'm saying there needs to be two separate things. A power level,
Well,
and then we need to actually have the discussion of hey, these unwritten rules where people go, these are not the type of things we want to do. Someone needs to declare them.
so let's talk about what this is, though.
Yeah.
What they are doing is same thing the government does. Okay, you guys can't regulate this yourselves. We're going to have to regulate it for you.
Right.
You cannot have these rule zero conversations correctly. We'll do it for you. That's what this is.
Sure.
You know, this is your parents coming in and saying, okay, if you guys can't share, we'll divvy it up. You know, so that's what's happening. And you don't punish the people who were having those conversations, who are willing to have those conversations. You have to punish the people who won't. The ones who say, I shouldn't have to say I'm playing mass land destruction. Fine. You don't have to. It's a tier 4. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, but you could, if I pulled out a tier 4, what I'm trying to say is that's not enough. I don't want to play.
I understand.
Decks.
It's not going to get rid of these conversations. It's trying to regulate those that won't have them correctly.
You're trying to create a whole different tier system.
Yes, I would say there
There should be two schools.
Power level.
There
and then
two
there's
scores,
discussion.
maybe a salt score and a
Yes,
power level score.
100%. That's what I'm saying.
So I mean,
We can disagree. People can have different opinions.
I mean,
That's just my
the-
opinion.
It isn't as simple, right?
Yeah.
I mean, people aren't going to like it for that.
Yeah.
But I don't disagree that would be nice.
Yeah.
I'd like a salt score versus power level score. That would work too. However,
I mean, it's
let's
not
try
that
and
hard.
force these people to have the
But yeah,
conversation.
it's not, guys. It's really not that hard. It's as simple as all they have to do is write a rule that says, upon sitting down for a game, you have to announce your power level and then your deck theme. That's it. And if they
But
write
here's
that
the
rule,
thing.
it's great.
He
People
would-
don't follow it.
No,
Great.
no,
Don't
no.
want to play with
That's
it.
the problem. He
Get
would
over it.
not have said this is a mass land destruction deck. That wasn't the point of the deck. He played a few cards in it for mass land destruction so it affects the game.
So in business, we have a phrase: we don't manage to the 1%. Which, sometimes in these cases, they're going to design a system to fit the 99%. There is a 1% of people that would sit down with a land destruction deck and go, "This is not a land destruction deck," and you're like, "Okay, I'm not sure."
Yeah, like
I
they
agree
might
with
even
you,
play.
but
They
that's
might
the
even play an
1%.
elf deck and say it's not an elf deck.
It doesn't
Or
have
play a
any
deck.
elves in it.
But how many? It
Rogue.
has elves. It has
The
elves.
rogues deck, which you guys say is mill,
Yeah.
but it does
Yeah.
have
And
mill. in it. I
the
don't
mill
think-
deck that isn't a mill deck, and a planeswalker deck that originally only had 10 planeswalkers.
But I think the fair thing is, if I sat down, I would say this is a rogue deck and has mill in it. That's the right way to say it.
Right.
This is a token deck that has elves in it.
I mean, ultimately, honestly, at the end of this discussion, like, we're all adults. If someone's gonna act that way, great. You got your one win in. I'm gonna go sit at a different table. Conversation's over. Like, it's really not that hard.
Well,
Like,
but
we're
and
lingering on us a lot longer than we
that's
need
what
to.
that's what happens now, right?
Right.
Right. Like,
But that's what they don't want to happen, because the
Sure.
thing is,
Then write the
we're pretty
rules.
lucky that our shop's pretty busy. Both shops available to us.
yeah.
There's some shops that aren't very busy. There's
Yeah.
some shops. There's only 4 or 5 guys there. You're all playing one game. There is
Right.
no other
Not
table.
just that, but like me, I don't get to play that often. So if I show up and someone does silly stuff, I've given up my time to not have fun,
Yeah.
and that's not great.
No. So I mean, I think the thing is, there is nothing they're going to do for this tier system that's going to please everybody.
Right, which we elaborated fairly clearly.
Right.
And not
My
everyone's
opinion
gonna
is,
agree.
I think what they are going to end up with
Yeah.
is a system that forces, the people who don't have those conversations
Yeah.
to be lumped into a bucket that maybe they shouldn't have been in.
Could be.
You know what I mean? But it's a way to navigate that and at least say, you definitely should not be playing that against tier 1 decks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's kind of where that's going to be. So are we looking forward to it? I cannot wait to see it.
Yeah.
I really can't.
I
I'm
wanna see what they
excited
do.
to see it.
Yeah.
I want to see it. I'm trepidatious about it. However, I can't wait to see it.
It'll be some interesting discussion.
And hopefully it'll be fluid enough. They'll try it,
Yeah.
get feedback, tweak it if they need to, and it's not like this is the way it is forever.
Yeah. I mean, if they don't continue to update it and tweak it and adjust it and have it grow with the format, then I don't even know why they're doing it. Just stop making it to begin with, because you can't just make you can't make a rule set and then never change it, because clearly we're in rules like 700 right now in Magic. I mean, they've made that many changes for the game itself. There's no way they're going to come out with a tier system and be like, all right, this is it. We're one shot. We're done. This is it.
Right.
Sure, they'll
Hopefully.
So
changes.
hopefully they do. If they're not going to, then my advice to Magic is just stop making it then.
If-
If you're not
if-
going to keep it updated.
Here's something
and
nobody's
adjust it.
talked about, though. I feel like we're going to end up with a tier announcement similar to a ban announcement as things are adjusted.
Yep. Cards will move up and down the tiers. And
Yeah.
Right, and which it should be.
Some discussion, people will get upset, but some discussion on these things is not bad for marketing either.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm excited for it. I'm hopeful. I'm going to be optimistic. Realistically, I think it's not going to be great for a while if they keep adjusting it and tweaking it and moving it forward based off of, again, what they showed us
Right.
in October.
Well, hopefully it's very different now. But
Hopefully.
Jeff, besides this, what's triggering you?
Well, I think what's aggravating me is something that we might get into a discussion on a little bit later, which is just I'm very concerned about how much this game seems to be moving more towards gambling. And we're going to talk about it a little bit later.
Well, we could talk about that aspect now, but you have something later to show an example.
Yeah, but just it concerns me, and I think, especially as parents, we need to be careful because I mean, I'm going to change that. A lot of adults, I think, chase the chase cards.
Yeah.
And you can end up spending a lot of money to chase some of these cards and end up not getting any of it. And there was a better place you could have invested your money.
Right.
So I'm pretty concerned about that. I don't know the right way to go about it, other than to say we're all adults. There's a product out there. You need to just be wary and really count the cost before you buy something. Decide whether it's a good investment for you.
So I can give you an example of how this is far less gambly than it used to be.
Okay.
We used to play for Annie.
Oh, well, yeah, it was way, way low.
I mean, I loved that concept though. You are gambling, sir. You shuffle your deck, flip that top card before you start. You're playing for whatever those top cards were.
Yeah,
Oh,
but they didn't have a lot of value then.
that's right. That's
Yeah,
why they
so
went away
it's
from it.
less. I
But
mean,
even when
I'd
it
say
was,
we're way more gambly now
well,
because
except that when it was still a thing, there were $50 cards, $100
Yeah,
cards,
it's true.
$200 cards.
are you 100% sure?
I
Yeah,
am.
because it went for
I
a long
owned
time.
some. I had Mirror Universe was a $50 card back then.
Okay.
Or was it that? No, Lich. I'm sorry, Lich was $50, and I had a combo with Lich and Mirror Universe. And if that, I
And
did
Black
not
Lotus
play
was
for
an
Annie,
expensive
but
card back
Annie
then,
was
too.
still a thing.
Yeah.
And if I had flipped into that and lost that in a game,
I think it was.
oof.
I think at the time when they designed it, it was probably the thought process was less being gambly and more being like someone where you drop ball and you pick up the
Tiddlywinks, well, not so much that, but I think marbles. You used to, when you played marbles,
Yes, marbles. 'Cause
whoever won got the marbles.
there you go. So, but then when it became the cards became worth money, they're like, we can't keep doing this. And
Yeah.
I would say in the same sense, it's like this. I get it. I get the chase cards, the really cool alternate art, all those types of things. These amazing looking frames. I get they get people to buy boxes, but maybe the cards should just be good. I'm glad they have the nice cards.
Well,
I guess
I'll
I
tell you.
prefer the
So,
secret layers being the way to go about the nice cards because you know exactly what you're getting. There's no risk.
Lorcana's trying to do that.
Okay, well, good for them.
They don't want it to be those cards are money. They
Right.
want it to be play and have fun.
Which they're doing a good job because I went to Target yesterday and there was a gigantic section. Like they're way printing,
Yeah.
mass printing.
It's very popular.
So I don't know if they're going to be.
But they're
working
not.
on it.
They're failing as far as trying to keep it not. I don't know if gambling is the word, but not. Don't have cards that are super high priced. There are still
Risky, yeah.
people paying a ton of money for some of those cards.
Really?
Yeah.
Because there's 100 of them at Target.
Yeah, but I'm
you'd
saying
think they're
individual cards.
overprinting.
Yeah, no, but rares are still rare.
Wow.
That's the
okay.
problem. When you limit the printing of something, it's going to make it more valuable.
Yeah. Which
No
is
matter how
okay-
much of that product
okay
you
with
put.
the rares, but it does get a little crazy when you get the one rings and stuff, and it,
Yeah.
you know, yeah.
No, I get it. Let's move on to today's topic, the year in review and the year in preview. So looking back on this year, and we've had a lot of good stuff.
Really have, yeah.
We got the Marvel Secret Lair. We got Bloomburrow, Duskborn. Sloan, you got the.
I got it. So January, Ravnica Remastered, Murders of Carlisle, February, Ravnica Clue Edition, February, Fallout, March, Outlaws of Thunder Junction, April, Modern Horizons 3, June, Assassin's Creed, July, Bloomburrow, August, Duskmorn, House of Horror, September, Foundations, November.
Right, and that's not including like the Marvel Secret Lair.
Nope, that's not any of that. Those are just the main sets they
Yep.
released.
Yeah. I thought Fallout was really good, and
Fallout
I thought
was
Modern
great.
Horizons was pretty good.
Yep.
You're just trying to convince yourself
Bloomburrow
of that
looked
because you bought that.
interesting.
Bloomburrow had some good stuff.
Yeah,
And I'll tell you, I am a Foundations fan.
yeah.
That's a great foundational.
Did you open
set.
your box?
Not well. I mean, I've opened several boxes. I have not opened my Christmas one.
Your one you got from.
Yeah, I'm just going. So my bundle box I have not opened yet.
Okay.
But hopefully this weekend. But I think that was a great set. I'm both reviewing it. I think it was good. I think it's great with the changes they made to standard, and previewing it for the years to come. I think it's going to be a great core set that you can always dip into.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so too.
I mean, like we talked about when they first announced it, I definitely think it's going to help the modern format in a big way that
Standard.
standard format rather, sorry. Standard format in a big way that it really needed help, which is longevity. Being able to keep those cards around for each block of it is a huge deal.
So what's funny is last night they had, well, now it's 2 weeks ago at this point, but the shop had a standard tournament, a standard showdown it was called.
Really? Did a lot of people show up?
No.
No.
But what I was gonna say is there was only, I mean, at first there was only one guy there. He's like, it's like 10 minutes till it's supposed to start. He's like, hey, if I'm the only one here, do I automatically win?
I would think so.
And they said, yeah. But there was one of those textless cards. They call them Texas cards, up for grabs,
Yeah.
which people love those things. The art
Yeah.
looks really good. They're just
Yeah.
clean.
What's the value on one of those?
Some of those are worth a lot.
Okay.
Some of those are worth a lot. I got a Gitrog and I can't remember the combo. Gitrog somebody. as a Texas in a Commander tournament, and I sold it for $180.
Oh my head.
And obviously the shop I sold it to has got to get a lot more.
Yeah.
Um, but but what I was gonna say is, so while there were only like 6 people that showed up, there was a ton of people saying, "Oh, I'm building a deck. I'm gonna be playing standard. I want to play standard." People
Yeah.
were talking about, we're going to get people into it. It's gonna take time. This is a busy time of year. For business, you said not so much, but individuals with all their commitments and they're trying to get ready for Christmas. People
Some
are busy.
businesses it is.
Yeah.
Retail.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah, for sure.
Good grief.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so I think it's going to take a while for results to be seen. So I hope that Wizards and Hasbro isn't going to have knee-jerk reactions and be like, it didn't work. But I think it is going to have an effect,
Yeah.
because for every player there literally was at least one other player in the building saying, "Oh yeah, I'm going to get into that."
Yeah. And then some shops have a very strong standard. Like
But it is
up in Sarasota at Darkside.
Yeah.
They play draft and they play standard and they do.
Well, draft is not standard.
No, but I don't think there's a lot of draft being played down at.
No, they don't
think
do a lot
we'll-
of draft, but that's also because it takes up a lot of time and space.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
So-
it also means they're buying packs, which is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so anyway, as I said, I think standard changes of standard are gonna be good. What anything else really stand out to you from this last year that you liked or didn't like? I thought the clue set was a dud. I still see it everywhere. The cards in it were good. The
Yeah.
commanders were good. You play the
Commander Mustard.
Commander Mustard.
Frickin' finally got a soldier
I
commander.
put several of those cards in decks. There's a lot of good commanders in there,
Yeah.
either in your 99 or as commanders.
Yeah, so I mean, out of the main sets here that we're staring at, I think that obviously for me, Assassin's Creed was like a big highlight for me. I thought they did a great job with it.
Now, just so
cards
you
were
know,
super fun.
it did not publicly get the reception.
No, it was.
I know.
Was received as a dud.
I loved it
That's why
though. I
we
thought
can
it
have
was
different
great.
opinions.
Yeah.
We can love something that other
Well,
people hate.
I think they did some things that hurt it. I think that they didn't put enough cards in the pack, didn't make it a full enough set. If they had
Yeah, that was a
either
little bit
make
of a
it a
bummer.
commander set,
Yeah.
where you make the decks and that has everything, or make it a full set. You cannot do this in between with
Which-
these tiny packs.
Which they learned that because that's not the first time they did that. They also did that with
Aftermath.
Aftermath. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
and they still dipped back into that well.
And
Yeah.
probably because they already had it planned. Remember, they plan these things out pretty far.
I think they thought, you know what, Aftermath didn't work, but if it's an IP that people were interested in, that'll work, and
Yeah.
it didn't.
Yeah, I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed the actual set though.
No,
Like,
I
I love
thought-
the
I thought it was
cards.
great.
I
There's a lot
thought
of good stuff.
they did a portrait one, which I did complete with the help of Duncan, with Ezio de Torre, de Frenzia, and so that was cool. So Assassin's Creed for me as an overall set was my favorite one, just because I liked all the cards that were in there. I liked like the historic figures, Mjolnir's in there, which you're gonna throw in your Captain America deck. You said you
Yeah.
were talking about
Yeah.
because one, it's on theme,
Excalibur.
and yeah, Excalibur is also in there, so super cool. But in regards to the actual like precons for Commander, I thought Thunder Junction was great.
They had some great
Their
precons.
precons were
And
all so
Trouble in
well
Pairs
done.
from one of those set decks.
Mm.
That is the card White needed.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? There is so much draw for you with that.
yeah,
I think I'm just going to answer from a feeling because I could go through and sort of think it out logically, and I'm sure there's some value to that. But just as a feeling, I was not super impressed this year. I did not feel driven.
So I will tell you, I
strongly
felt like
behind
last year
anything.
was better.
Yeah, I didn't think
Mhm.
this was a. I don't
But
think it was a
but
great year.
how much of that is because last year was so full, Lord of the Rings and Doctor Who and
Could be, but the one thing I was excited this year was the Secret Lair. It's the only thing I was super excited. I did buy some Modern Horizons because I was like, I gotta buy something. I want to buy something this
Yeah.
year. But next year, I imagine like just off the bat right now, there's a couple where like I'm kind of excited.
yeah. I think for sure. I think next year with what they have listed is going to be again holding reservations for how well they'll do it. But I definitely think next year is going to be a better
Yeah.
run
But this
based
year
off of
felt,
what the.
felt underwhelming.
I feel like
Uh,
this year it was more individually, like inside of each set, there were really individually well done cards, but the actual whole set was like, like Take it
I
or
don't
leave
even
it.
know. I'm trying to think. I don't even know that there were a ton of cards where I was like, I have to have this card.
So here's what I think happened this year. This year, they tried to focus on standard.
I think that's probably true.
And there were a lot of good cards they introduced to standard, which are now becoming staples in, maybe staples the wrong word, but there are cards they put out now, common cards, that made cards you were playing not as good.
That is 100% true. But as a commander player, I can't. There are not that many cards where I'm like, I have to get this card, and so that was rough. So maybe next year will be a little better on that. But even if it's not, I still love the game. So it's not a
Yeah,
big deal.
I
But
mean,
I also think the secret layer was stronger this year. I think secret layer was pretty strong this year.
Yeah, 'cause
Not
they
the way
did-
delivered it.
Well, yeah, no, so
Cards they have.
not on their execution, but on what they
Execution
offer.
Yeah.
is not good.
because they did the Marvels one,
Yeah,
and then
they did
Assassin,
Monty Python.
they did Mighty Python. They had the Assassin's Creed, which, God, man, if I had money, I would have bought that one.
So
Because
sad I don't have the Monty Python one.
yeah,
It's so expensive if you want to buy it. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
so
And I wanted that.
what were the other? They did. What were the other ones? They did Mighty Python. They did Assassin's Creed. They did Marvels. They did.
They did an art deck. They did the 20 Ways to Win deck, which that was
20
not
Ways
as
to Win.
popular, but I love that deck. It's very well done.
And
Yeah.
it's just going up against the last couple times they've done that deck, it's been really.
I mean, the Cats and Dogs, I was not interested in at all.
I know, but Cats and Dogs are pretty popular, and I
Yeah.
have the deck, and it works.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's,
Like
they did a good
without
job with
any
it.
changes to it.
So
Like,
so does the 20 Ways to Win.
it does, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, so I think, and again, what you're saying I think might be true. They focus pretty heavily on standard, but I think overall, if you're looking at the overall how the set each individual set did, I think I'd have to agree with Jeff. Like it was a little underwhelming. I
Yeah.
think there was great cards in each set
Yeah.
that it's like, yeah, I could definitely get that card.
And I
that's
think
a
there were great,
card,
like
and
I said, there's a ton of great commons, which aren't earth shattering, right? But they raise the bar on what a common is.
I
right.
think you're probably right in that.
So
You know, cards that used to cost you 3 mana, now they came out with a 2 mana version that does something else too.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, stuff like that.
And they tried some interesting stuff with the pause and I'm not even, was there even a mechanic where you're like, maybe gift, but is there a mechanic where you're like, yeah, that's a really cool mechanic?
free running.
Free running's pretty good.
I liked free running because the cool thing about free running is they did a good job on making it not just assassins but your commander also if it dealt damage. So it allows you to still put it in decks that aren't assassin themed but do care about your like Voltron decks. So I mean paying 2 mana to draw 3 cards.
Yeah, so for you, Assassin's Creed was like the stuff. Like
Well,
that made your
so I will also point out, now this is in direct disagreement with Command Zone, because they put out their thing about the decks and whatever.
Mhm.
I think that they brought energy back into play,
Yeah.
because what they did is
Yeah, with Modern
they
Horizons
printed
3.
one Modern Horizons 3 deck that had it,
Yeah.
and printed another Fallout deck that had it, and if you put those two decks together, you have the best energy deck you can buy.
Yeah, and I guess energy is an interesting mechanic. It's fun.
Right.
I don't
And the thing is, there again, energy, it's not the strongest mechanic, right? They didn't
No.
make cards that
Yeah.
make it super strong,
Right.
but there's some crazy stuff you can do
it
with it.
definitely synergizes.
Yeah.
You're definitely you're gonna play Magic. You're gonna be doing stuff.
Bryce played his energy deck last night, and at one point he had Googleplex Energy and Googleplex Life.
Yeah.
What are you going to do against that?
10
You're gonna have to
infect.
win another way, Commander. Day.
Yeah.
10 infect.
Yeah.
Commander Day.
Commander damage is, but so it's still you can win with it, and they
Which does
brought,
have to do with Reese.
and what they did is,
Commander damage with Reese.
the reason why
Why did
energy
that?
hadn't been played was nobody wanted to do the work. Nobody wanted to go and find those individual cards
Yeah.
and put them together and make those decks. So,
Yeah.
Wizards is like, all right, here you go. In we'll break it into 2 parts.
Yeah, and the Commander decks this year, even if all of them weren't the best, there were a lot of really cool themes or a lot of really cool ideas.
So some really neat ideas. While I did not like the deck, the lands,
That deck is super cool.
yeah, the one where everything gets all lands.
Yeah, Modern Horizons 3.
It can do crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It takes advantage of lands that you might never use.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is, I mean, and that's I think always a good thing is to bring back into circulation cards that may have fallen out because there's not really a need for them. So being able to create a commander that's like, oh, this actually is really good, and now I want to get these. I think that's a good way to kind of introduce something new while also still bringing back something old at the same time.
And then having nostalgia, like also from the same set, the Tarmogoyf deck was very nostalgic for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't a very good deck.
No.
And you could probably make it a good deck,
Yeah.
but like certainly wasn't out of the box. But it was very nostalgic for people that are old school players, like to have Tarmogoyf tokens.
Yeah.
And that was like, I think at a time it was like $100 card.
Yeah.
And now you're getting it as a token.
As a token.
It's
Yeah.
a lot
That's
of
not.
fun,
That's
yeah.
nutty.
Yeah.
Let's move up to the year in preview. What's coming out? First we start with Innistrad Remastered.
Yep. January Innistrad
Great
Remastered.
cards.
Yep.
Eight.
And a reprinting of Edgar Markov, which people are
Yes.
very excited about. And the introduction of, is it Headliner?
Headliner cards.
Headliner cards.
So Headliner cards is going to be this new card concept. Now we don't know what the theme will be for each set.
Yeah,
if
they'll
they
do a
it.
different treatment.
Right. So this one, the Edgar Markov, the Headliner card, is what they're calling movie poster treatment.
Which
And-
I
So-
like.
And it's serialized, which
So-
is not always going to be serialized.
Right. So
Right.
this one is 500. They've already announced it, so
And
you'll
that
get.
is going to be a chase card. Guarantee you.
Oh yeah.
People are going to buy a ton of those
Um,
collector boxes to get that.
It is exclusive to collector boosters. And then the special treatment, the serialized version features a movie poster style art with double rainbow foiling.
See, then that's one of those things where like I'm not going to chase the collector box, although I really want to. But I wonder how much it's going to be because I would love to have that.
Man, I want to have that. I have still never opened a serialized card. As good as I am with luck at opening cards, I've never opened one. I want that Willy Wonka moment of opening up and finding that serialized card.
And that's the thing. It's I will say, if you go to casinos and stuff and you say, okay, I'm putting this much aside. I know if I lose this much, I'm okay. If you're gonna do that for boxes and it's fun for you to go and have those moments and
That's
you're
what
okay
I'm
losing
doing.
money, that's perfectly fine. Just please don't think there's much of a chance of you getting it. Don't be like, if I buy this box, I could get it. No, if you buy that box, you'll get cards. There's a very, very small chance you'll
Yeah.
get that.
There's 500 in existence.
That's wild to think how many boxes are sold.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
Just
my shop,
500?
I don't know how many they will get, right? But I'm betting 20,
I would think more than that, but yeah.
I'm being conservative
Well,
because
remember,
sometimes you
it's-
can't get as many as you want. You
Right.
can't get what's available.
Yeah.
Say 20 there.
Okay.
Dark side, probably 40.
Yeah.
Some of the bigger shops, maybe 100, right? Some of the real big shops in the city.
Way more than that, I would think.
I'm saying what they can get.
Yeah,
You can't
Card
always get what
Kingdom
you
and
want.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, but Card Kingdom, they're going to have thousands.
Yeah. It's
And
crazy.
you are going to get one box
Yeah.
and hope to get one of those 500.
Yeah.
Those odds are not good.
They're not good.
No.
They're not good at all.
But
Quite low.
it is a very cool card.
It is.
Mhm.
But what makes me sad is it makes me feel like I kept thinking, so they've had a couple sets where they did multiple serialized cards.
Mhm.
And now it sounds like if they're going to do it, they're going to do one.
I don't know that they're not saying that. They're
They're
just saying there's going to be a headline.
I'm just saying that's
Yeah.
what it sounds like to me. I don't know.
Okay.
it feel yeah maybe who knows. So
You could be right. I'm just saying all they've said so far is there's going to be a headliner.
Right.
And it may or may not be serialized.
Innistrad Remasters is January.
So, but you had something else you wanted to bring up about that set.
What
The
was-
card that they're putting in it that really doesn't belong.
Oh, yeah. This is actually really important. Thank you, Duncan.
Yeah.
My memory is not the best in the world.
Really? I had
I've
no
been
idea.
told. So
No
there's
comment.
typically with sets like this, when you do like a remastered, they're pulling cards that have been in Innistrad in the plane before. Now occasionally they'll pull cards from like a commander deck or something else where it wasn't really anywhere else, and it's not a problem.
Right.
But now there's a card, and I suspect there will be more, but there's a card called Mass Hysteria. It's 1 red, it's an enchantment. All creatures have haste, right? And this one is from Mirrodin, and they're
Skinning it.
Reskinning it, and now it's gonna, instead of having goblins on the card, it's gonna have werewolves,
To make
and
it
it's coming
relevant.
out in Innistrad Remastered. Now the thing I'm excited about for this is, look, I'm sure there are people that follow the lore and they care what plane it's on, and that makes a difference to them, and that's okay. But with the way the game changes and the way the dynamic of the game changes, them having the freedom to go reskin a card from another set so that it balances this set or makes that card a little bit cheaper if it's gotten too expensive because it hasn't been printed in a while. That's really cool, and I hope they do that more.
I
But
don't
that's just
think
my
I
opinion.
could be wrong. I haven't looked it up. I don't think Mass Hysteria is that expensive.
I don't know. Well,
Um,
because it was only in Mirrodin, it could be, but I doubt it.
I don't think it is. It's the red version of Concordant Crossroads.
Well, I mean, Concordant Crossroads was a $60 card.
Yes, but I don't think the red one was worth as much because red isn't as stompy as green.
Yeah, but red does have a lot of creatures that.
It's not that expensive, $5 or so.
Same.
And it wasn't a secret layer drop, which
Yeah.
is probably has something to do with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not that expensive, but
Oh,
Um,
well, actually, it might have dropped. This is not a fair
but,
because
but
it already
it
has it on here for the remastered.
that may be true.
So it might
However,
have been $20 or so.
I doubt it was that much. Probably 10 at
Oh,
most.
we can look at
The history.
the history.
But anyway, so yeah, that's an interesting choice. I don't like the precedence it sets. Well, what's the point in calling this Innistrad remastered
yeah.
if it's going to be whatever you feel like putting in it?
It was at $20.
Because I would imagine they're probably going to do a Mirrodin.
Oh, there you
go.
Yeah.
Um,
And it was also on the list, which is lowered its price
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah. So I mean, they've reprinted it before. They just wanted another reason to reprint it. I guess it's fine. Reskin it so that it's in it, but I mean, it's like as long as they're not doing it with a ton of cards in a set.
I think as long as they're not doing it with like core characters too,
Yeah.
I think it'd be okay. Like,
Well,
'cause-
except that core characters usually travel plane to plane to plane. Jace goes everywhere. Well, not anymore, but he used to.
I
They've
mean, he's a
retired
fox in
Jace.
Bloomberg.
What happened to Jinx?
He's been replaced by Kaito.
Oh.
Yeah.
What did he do? He got old?
I don't know. I think he got canceled. I don't know.
Probably. Why do you tell
That's
people what
tough.
to do?
Well, rest in peace, R.I.P.
Yeah.
Jace.
White control-y guys tend to get canceled.
Wow, it's very political for this Magic podcast.
So Innistrad Remastered's first one up on the block.
Yep.
That's January coming out. 24th is the announcement date, the release date here. So pretty close. A couple weeks away now.
Yep, couple weeks wait.
Um,
I don't think it gets a pre-release.
Okay, so no pre-release. So definitely feel like Jeff's getting some stuff from this one probably.
I don't think I'm buying boxes anymore.
No, but you're gonna want the Edgar Markov.
I might just buy the card.
That's gonna be very expensive.
Yeah, that
I
might be
got
the price.
I mean,
card.
well,
that might be the price of a box.
So let's see. If you just get the regular version, it's gonna be less expensive.
Yeah, if they have like the poster version, but it doesn't have like the
Serialized
galaxy
and the
whatever,
double
serialized.
rainbow.
I don't need
Or-
serialized. I just want the art.
You
Yeah.
just want the art?
If
Yeah,
I can
who
get the
knows?
art without being serialized, that's fine.
Yeah. So that's gonna be our first stop. Aether Drift, February 14th.
And that's
Day
the vehicle set.
Love. Bow chicka bow wow.
I will be surprised at all if I care at all about that set. If they do an amazing job, I will care just a little bit. And so, good luck.
So talking about energy though, because we kind of brought it up, could go in that set too.
Oh yeah, 100%.
It could.
go in there.
It could.
Because it makes sense for the.
I think they're gonna
vehicles
come
and
out with
stuff.
some kind of racing mechanic.
I'm sure they are, and for racing fans, it's gonna be huge.
Yeah. So Aether Drift. I'm mainly excited to see if they make vehicles viable. That's kind of what I care about. I hope they do because it would be fun to play a vehicle deck. Kind of going back to the idea of bringing back these cards that really don't do anything, but they could be really helpful. Like if you have all these cards that are like 1-drops that are like 3/3s with no abilities, that's great to crew a vehicle.
I wonder if they're gonna
You
get
know?
cute with it though, and do some sort of like, you know how they had that amusement cards where they would have the amusement thing come out. I hope they don't do anything like, okay, now you're in a race, and I'm like, I don't want to be in a race.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah,
don't.
you gotta instead of like night and day, it's just like a racetrack. It's like, all right, guys, hold on, clear the table.
Yeah,
We
you
gotta
got
make a
Jace-
racetrack.
You got Jace running with Kaido. He's just angry. He's been replaced.
Yeah,
I don't want that. I just want to play Magic.
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
They create a Beyblade stadium you have to play in or something.
Spin your cards at each other.
I think it's gonna be cutesy.
I hope it's not. I hope.
I mean, I don't think cutesy like Bloom Barrel, but I think it's gonna be niche as far as who likes it, who doesn't.
Yeah,
I
agree
think
with that.
some people are gonna like it. I don't think it's gonna be an earth-shattering.
Now this one I think Jeff is very excited for. Tarkir Dragonstorm in April.
I mean, dragons are popular, right? A lot of people like
I am
dragons.
so tired of dragons.
Now my
I don't
hope
own
is,
a dragon deck. I don't want to own a dragon deck.
but
Give me my ancient dragons, and that's it.
My
but-
problem is I can't afford dragons. Every time they come out with a good dragon, it's like $50.
Yeah.
my hope is though, because at least in the art that they've shown for this, that they're also doing monks with it. which they've done a couple of times. So it'd be cool to get more prowess cards because Monk's 2 prowess.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's another mechanic that kind of just slides underneath the table. No one really does because it's hard to do.
I'm hoping there's some anti-dragon tech in there.
That'd be cool.
They haven't really done
Yeah, you
specifically.
probably
There's a
need
few,
that
but
for my dragon deck.
I don't know, your dinosaur deck's almost worse.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
those
that
are just dragons without wings.
Those are just dragons without the intelligence. They're just angry.
Yeah, they're just big.
They're dumbed down dragons. Next set, which I don't think any of us really care about. June's gonna be Final Fantasy.
I care about it. I like it. I'm not like a super fan, but I loved playing it back in the day. I stopped around. I didn't like 10 and after pretty much.
Yeah.
For collectors.
No, I like 10. I didn't like
For
11.
collectors, it could be big.
Yeah,
'cause
the
they're
only-
probably going to be worth money because I suspect Final Fantasy fans will collect them even if they're not Magic fans.
Yeah,
Here's-
exactly. No, for sure.
here's-
Anthony here at work, he's going to.
But here's the thing I will say is that our other buddy that we now play with, Taylor, is also a huge Final Fantasy VII specifically fan. And like when they first announced this, like one of the biggest things that came up was like how the picture that they showed for Sephiroth is 100% wrong. Like, and everyone was ragging on it and just ripping in a new one because they're like, this is so inaccurate.
Well, I
it's
can tell you, I
ridiculous.
was at MagicCon when they announced it.
Mm-hmm.
And while some people out there may have that opinion, the crowd erupted when they saw Sephiroth. They loved it.
So the only thing
Yeah,
I'm
but this is what happens. Anytime you do stuff like this, people come out of the woodwork to be like, well, actually.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, calm down. This is a card. This is not
Well,
real.
the biggest thing is the image that they used. Apparently, someone looked at it and then they figured out within like a day that it was just AI generated. Like no one actually drew it and made it. They just punched it into an AI generation machine and used it as the picture.
Has that been,
No, that's not true.
I don't know.
Because
Nope.
Magic has said they're not using AI art.
Yeah.
I don't
And
know what to tell
that
you.
would have
but-
been, we would have been talking about that already. That's somebody's opinion and it's wrong. There's an artist attached to that, I guarantee.
Yeah. Now,
I don't know. But
Now, they did just
did
have
that
an
artist
issue.
Make a mistake. And,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's possible. But
according to the article, I saw I made 10. That was sent to me. So
I'm just saying.
yeah. But anyways,
We'll take
regardless,
a
the only
look.
thing
It has
the only
been-
thing I care about this is
allegedly, it could be. We don't know.
the only thing I care about Final Fantasy is if they come out with a cloud card, I might buy it for my buddy Taylor. 'Cause
Yeah,
that's his
sure.
favorite character. So
Yeah,
that's about it.
So
Don't
just
care about anything
just
else.
about the art, I will say this: the problem that people don't understand, the person who drew that or created that with digital art, whatever, may not care anything or know anything about Final Fantasy.
Right.
Correct.
So in that instance, they're going to do their interpretation of the images they can find of it.
And yet, I really give credit to the people who did the secret layer for Marvel, because they picked them out of the different eras of the,
Yep.
and they did a really good job.
They
So
did, but
Yeah.
I will
I
say
hope
there,
they do that for this
I
year.
didn't. I'm not. I love Wolverine as a card. I'm not a super big fan of the art they chose for his specific card.
Really?
It's okay,
Okay.
but I think the classic Wolverine cartoon images are way cooler.
Okay.
You know, so
And
but
that's the thing too. We can never please everyone.
no,
Everyone's-
exactly. It's
Yeah.
you know, you're gonna find purists who are gonna pick things apart, and you're gonna find people that are like, "Hey, that's cool."
Right.
Next up, August, Edge of Eternities. I believe this is the space one.
The space set, yeah.
Yeah. So this
That
one,
that's a slippery slope right there. They could either tank it and go whoop, like
Like the space
Orcs
dog.
in space.
Who's a friggin' space dog in the unset?
oh yeah, what's his name?
I
I
don't-
don't remember.
I don't know. It's-
I forgot.
Comet. No.
Comet. Yeah, Comet. They
Is
can
it-
make it look like that type of art, and I'd be disappointed.
Yeah, it's I don't want them to go too sci-fi. If they do, then they got to do Star Wars and Star Trek.
Lean into sci-fi.
That's fine, but then do Star Wars and Star Trek.
Yes,
don't do
please.
don't
Yeah,
do some-
threaten me with a good
don't do
job.
some bad Babylon 5 knockoff.
Well, but that's what we were talking about.
Okay,
that
don't
was
say
another one.
Bad and Babylon 5 at the same time.
I said
Good
knockoff.
Brady, one of the greatest
I-
shows ever.
That's what we were talking. That was another thing we talked about when you weren't here. So we were coming up with like if they did nods to it, so it's like Babylon 4 instead. Like
Yeah,
it's
I
one
know.
before.
That's why I
right?
brought it up.
Yeah. So like, what would be like a nod that you would want the? Obviously we're joking, but what's a good nod do you think that they could do that would be kind of funny, for like a Star Wars sci-fi or like a
No,
Star Trek?
So what if they did the Orville instead of Star Wars or Star Trek?
Yeah. No, there's tons of
Or they do
stuff.
Futurama.
Futurama, yeah.
It's just
Oh,
like
oh, what-
Zach
Lower
Brannigan.
Deck. They do Lower Decks.
oh, Lower Deck.
I'd buy a Lower Decks secret layer.
Oh yeah, me too.
Oh, 100%.
100%. Actually, this last season's coming up.
Yeah, I haven't
Yeah.
watched it. I gotta probably watch
It's
this
it's
season
not
soon.
it's not out yet, but the last season
No,
is
I'm saying
coming.
probably haven't watched this season.
Oh, last season was done like 6 months ago.
I
Yeah.
know, but there's a lot of
So
good
Edge of Eternities is a space one.
Yep.
So I think again we're probably gonna get a lot. I'm again hopeful that we're maybe gonna get a lot of cool vehicles in there. I think that'd be pretty dope if we
If
got
they
some
did
cool
spaceships,
Dude,
that
if
could be
I
cool.
want a spaceship. I want to crew a spaceship.
Space whales. I'm betting there will be space whales. There's
Oh,
always space whales.
Space
Dude,
dolphins from
you,
Star
you know what would
Trek?
be dope if they did was Treasure Planet. Oh, that would be so cool. Like
You
the pirate.
love Disney movies.
No,
That's
Treasure
why.
Planet is one of the most underrated movies ever. It is so good. It is such a well done twist on the Treasure Island book. You've never seen it?
I mean,
I would highly recommend to
I
watch
would
it.
like it just simply because the word treasure's in it, which means there's probably gonna be a lot of treasure mechanics, and I
Well,
love the
because
treasure
it's-
We
mechanics.
don't need more
They're-
treasure mechanics.
We
There's
do.
space
Dockside
pirates.
is dead. We need new. We need space dockside to
Yeah,
replace it.
just make it dockside.
It's
It's
called
just
Space Side.
It's-
We
it's-
got you guys.
No, it's space dock side. It's
Yeah.
extortionist.
it's literally the same exact art, and they just put a freaking astronaut helmet on him, and
Yeah.
that's it. It's
Yeah.
the exact same art. They
It does the
changed
same-
nothing.
It does
Yeah.
the same thing.
Yeah.
The exact same thing.
Yeah.
They just put a
They
helmet
would
on
do
him.
that too. Like we didn't unban it.
But I mean, yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
No, dockside's banned, not space dockside.
Yeah.
Well, we said we wouldn't unban it.
But Treasure Planet is just
by
a
the
really
way,
good
We
movie.
have a space script.
Yeah. It's a space script. Oh man, that's great. But yeah, I mean, like, cause there's like space pirates in that, and there's like little vehicles like hoverboards that they ride around and stuff. So
Space Lotus.
Space
Yeah.
Lotus.
Space Lotus.
Yeah, Space Lotus. Alien versus Predator, if they did some like
Yep.
alien stuff.
But we have actual sets that are coming out. What's
But anyways,
next on the
so
list?
next on the list, and this one hasn't been a launch release date yet, but Spider-Man. So
Yeah.
back to Marvel.
Yeah,
Excited about
that's going to be huge. That will be the set of the year. It's going to be very hard to get your hands on that.
I will buy boxes of that. And what I'm most excited about, this is weird. I want to see what they put in the writing on every card.
Oh,
That's
this flavor
so
text?
many quips.
Yeah, the
I'm
flavor
so
text is going to
excited
be
about
on
the
point.
flavor text.
Yeah,
Yes.
he's very quippy.
And we were talking about this before recording. They could do so much with this. They could do
You have Venom, you have Carnage, you have Penny
Kingpin.
Parker, Kingpin, you have Penny Parker,
But what do you,
Miles
What do
Morales.
you mean different? What do you mean they could do so many different things?
because they could go with all these villains, right, and all that. They could do the Spider-Verse.
Okay. Yeah.
All the different versions of Spider-Man and the stuff, Madam Web, all that type of stuff.
No.
They could bring in so there's some of the Marvel characters that they're not going to waste time on a Defenders set, right? But Defenders have been in
Okay, so
Spider-Man a
you're saying-
bunch. So Power Man, Iron Fist,
And they can obviously
Jessica
go
Jones.
different eras of
So I wonder.
artwork because he has many
Right.
different artists that have
Yeah, so I do have a question though. So the IP they bought from, is it the one they only got from Disney, or do they have
So,
all of Spider-Man
No,
IP?
so the
think
only thing
Spider-Man's
Sony
Disney.
owns is the Spider-Man movie franchises.
Right, that's what I'm asking about.
So
Because which is
Marvel
Into the
owns
Spider-Verse.
comic book character. No, Into the Spider-Verse was Marvel, not Sony.
But they made what I'm talking about is the movies. So that the movies they came out with, the two they did, Into the Spider-Verse and Spider-Verse Beyond, I think it was, and they have a third one that's coming out.
I think those are just Marvel, not Sony.
No,
can
they're
look
made
it
by
up.
Sony.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, trust me, I've watched them a lot. They're made by
But
Sony.
here's the thing: all of that is based on
Okay, so that's what I was asking.
comic books.
Okay, so if it's okay, that's cool then. So yeah, because like in that movie, in the second one specifically, he goes to like the Spider-Man hub, and there's like thousands and thousands of
yeah,
Spider-Mans,
that's in the
which is really
comics,
funny.
so they can still do it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
they licensed it from
good.
Disney
Okay, so that
direct,
makes me
so.
happy. So yeah, oh yeah, so they got a lot to pull from because even
yeah. You're
the
just not gonna
show.
see a Tom Mulholland card, you know.
But like the even the show, the animated series,
Amazing.
the Ultimate Spider-Man. No, not the Amazing, the Ultimate Spider-Man.
Yeah, the one
Where he met Nick Fury, and they were the first beginnings of
Yeah.
creating.
there's Spider-Man 2099.
Yeah,
But
it'd be dope if they made the Vampire Spider-Man from the Spider-Man movie.
There has been some
guy's
people
awesome.
speculating that Deadpool could be in it.
Oh,
'cause
that'd be
Deadpool
funny.
has teamed up with The problem with Deadpool is he's teamed up with everybody.
Right, because he's gone
And he
like
fits
across the
he fits
Marvel.
better in a secret lair because there's just not.
I
that
think
many-
that's what they're gonna do.
Yeah.
I think they're
Now-
gonna do. They might even do just a pure Deadpool secret lair, and that's it.
With that being said, there is an unannounced Universes Beyond right after
I
Spider-Man.
don't think it's gonna be in our Marvel set. They're not gonna pop 2 of those out. They're gonna spread those out. They're gonna have 1 a year.
Yeah.
Maybe some secret lairs to go with them. Any ideas what we think that could be? Universes Beyond, unannounced.
Yeah, unannounced. Okay, so let's see here.
I mean, can you imagine if it was something like Star Wars?
I don't think it'd be Star Wars. They'd announce that now.
No, unless they
They'd announce it now.
I don't think they
build
would.
hype for the whole year.
possibly,
Well,
but
but
they may not.
they
have-
didn't announce.
They want to let Spider-Man ruminate before they're going to announce something like that.
Maybe.
I think it'll be something probably less.
I don't think it'd be that
There's
big.
a video game, so there's already a video game being released, the Final Fantasy. There's a Spider-Man, which is a comic. So I would think it's probably some sort of IP that's neither of those things. It's not comic books. It's not video games.
Maybe
not
it's gonna
movies.
be. Maybe it's gonna be like a. I think
I
it's.
don't think they'll do a full Transformers set.
No, I think
Trying to
it's
think of
gonna.
things that might be Hasbro owned that they might do.
Yeah.
If they do a Barbie set, I'm out.
I don't know, dude. I actually don't have a particular guess that I think makes any sense at the moment.
I
Yeah.
think it's gonna be like a
What-
bigger
what's big right now?
franchise.
What if it was DC?
Oh, dude, if they did DC, that would make me so
if they had
happy.
Spider-Man and
Well,
then
that is a
DC.
good question though. What is big right now? Because like I know vampires and
The
there's
Witcher?
zombies. Witcher's not that big. Like what's
They're coming
the
out with the
theme
fourth
of movies
season.
right now? Because actually the theme of movies is no one makes movies anymore.
Yeah, they just rehashed. Stuff.
Well, they just did Wicked, which is the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, but that's just one movie. What?
Well,
like,
it
remember-
was, but that was part 1.
What's the one with the
Yeah.
vampire? He's got the diamondy skin and
Twilight.
Twilight. Remember when Twilight came out? Everything in the market was vampires. There was like the vampire show on CW. There's vampires everywhere. What is it right now? Is there anything that's just like
I'm gonna try
What
to
are the
think.
things people are talking about right now? So they're talking about Game of Thrones. The what's the preview?
House of Dragon.
House of Dragons.
yeah, it could be something medieval. Could be like a Camelot.
But that wouldn't be Universes Beyond.
It would
It
have
would
to
be an IP.
It has to be something with an IP. So Game of Thrones, it could be Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones.
That would be
sure.
one because that was a huge show, and they have House of Dragon going on
They
right
said
now.
They're making the game for kids. Haven't they talked about like it's kids friendly? That's why they don't have guns and stuff. It'd be hard to do Game of Thrones.
I mean, you just make swords as equipment, and you make the
If you
characters
do-
as legendary
yeah, you
creatures.
don't
You're
have-
gonna miss out on a lot of the stuff that Game of Thrones.
The
was
rompus?
about. Yeah. The
Well, you
more
don't.
Adult
That
themes.
yeah, that's not stuff you're gonna put in a card game though.
No, but
You're not gonna play the incest card.
yeah, but I mean, if you're making a Game of Thrones, you probably are. Like, there's a board game we play. It's
You play a
what-
board game
what is
about
it?
incest.
Spartacus. It's based on Spartacus, and it has some adult themes in it for sure. And it's just a board game. You've played it with us or no?
Is that the one where it's like a 4-player, you each pick a house or something,
I don't
like to run?
know, but it is
No.
definitely adult themed.
I don't think I've played that
And
one.
I suspect if there's a Game of Thrones game, it's also adult themed.
I'm trying to think though. What else is big right now? I
See,
mean,
the thing for me that's kind of crazy is like the thing that's actually really big right now is Marvel came out with a PvP game called Marvel Rivals. So it's like that's the big thing right now for gaming. Like
you keep
all the
going to
streamers.
Marvel well, they're not gonna pop out 2.
But that's my
Marvel sets back
point.
to
Like
back.
you're asking what the big thing is. Like every streamer right now is streaming Marvel Rivals. That's like all anyone's playing right now.
That's
So
It's just a big thing in the very niche market. Of
What
the
do
world.
people watch? I don't watch TV really, so I can't really
I mean,
speak to it.
Taylor Sheridan's pretty big right now.
What is that?
Basically, he's made like 100 shows. He's the one who's done Yellowstone,
Oh,
all that type of stuff.
I mean,
he's
I don't think we're
probably
gonna go back to Cowboys.
if
We
you're-
just had Thunder Junction.
No, but the stuff Taylor Sheridan's making is everywhere. Landman, Lioness. He has like 7 shows out right now.
we also forgot to talk about. There's the SpongeBob Secret Lair coming out
Well,
this year.
That's like,
I'm not excited about it. Some people are.
yeah,
You know,
Yeah, don't ruin a good time with that.
be better.
what if
Uh,
they decided, you know what, we're not gonna do a Secret Lair. We're gonna do a set.
I don't
Oh,
know.
SpongeBob
honestly,
set.
I don't have a thought on this.
Yeah,
I would
it's
just wait till it comes
it's
out.
too tough to figure out.
Yeah.
There's too many possibilities. And
Well, it could be if they don't do. I don't know. They did a horror set this year. I was thinking like maybe like a horror theme, like a big franchise like the
Yeah.
Halloween or something.
Oh, political. Republicans and Democrats.
Yeah,
Oh,
right.
jeez Louise.
Could you imagine?
You can
like,
play the Trump
playing
card
a Bible
literally.
card.
Yeah,
You
literally.
can literally
You
play the Trump card.
Drop a Kamala.
Anyway,
You watch.
Jeez
so we don't know what that last one is.
I Joe
Something-
Biden forget your Kamala.
Um,
Well, we're not getting political.
One of the things you looked up called that last set ultimate.
Yeah.
Yeah, it said ultimate. I don't know what the heck that was. It
So
was
I don't know
weird.
what that
If
could
it said ultimate, I'm gonna say it's going to be comic books. It's gonna be.
Oh, Invincible.
Could be. I don't think it. I mean, yeah, because they've done some fringe stuff.
Yeah, I don't think Invincible has the depth to build a full set out of.
I don't think so.
We also don't know if it's a full set or if it's just commander decks or
We-
you know
we
Yeah.
don't.
literally know nothing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So
you know nothing, Jon Snow.
Yes.
All right.
but it's fun to speculate.
So anyway, we got some stuff to look forward to.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, real quick, Sloan, you want to talk about your card of the day?
Yeah, so card of the day. This card is called Last Laugh. It's 2 black. It's an enchantment. And it says whenever a permanent other than Last Laugh is put into a graveyard from play, Last Laugh deals 1 damage to each creature and each player. When no creatures are in play, sacrifice Last Laugh.
Ooh,
So
That's
wait,
good.
Does whenever what?
Whenever a permanent other than Last Laugh is put into a graveyard from play, Last Laugh deals 1 damage to each creature and each player.
Oh, that's tough.
When
It's
no
also
creatures
dealing
are in
damage to your
play,
creatures.
sacrifice Last Laugh.
it's funny that it's
So I was gonna say,
permanents
put it
that
in
trigger it,
discard.
but it cares about creatures to stay around specifically.
Right. So the cool thing about this is that this is a card for the Indoraptor deck. Because whenever you choose to sacrifice a creature, it's going to ding everything for 1, which guess what that does? Triggers Indoraptor again to go off. So you're either going to take all the damage he's going to hit you with, or you're going to sacrifice something
and
to
then-
make it happen again.
Yeah, no, you're gonna have to take the damage, number one, because otherwise you're just looping it.
Right, exactly. That's the point with him. So that's what you kind of
But
do.
the other thing is, but the 1 damage going to everything, there's also gonna be creatures going to the graveyard, which will trigger it again.
Well, I think it says sacrifice specifically. Yeah, whenever a permanent other than Last Laugh. Oh no, put into a graveyard from play. Yeah. So when stuff dies, yeah.
Yeah, discard.
Treasure
No, from play.
tokens. Treasure tokens are
Oh,
gonna
it has
trigger
to
it.
be in.
So that's the other person is Prosper.
Yeah.
imagine,
Yeah,
imagine sacrificing and just do a board wipe from sacrificing
Yeah,
treasures.
no, that's a very good card. What set's that from?
It's a very old
Torment.
card.
I think it's from Torment.
Torment? Is it expensive? Has anybody looked up?
$2.
I need some of those. I want to put those in my Lisa, the
The only problem is when
Pain
no
stacks.
creatures are in play, it just gets sacrificed.
Right. So, but if you
But-
have creatures
So
that
you
are
have to limit-
indestructible,
if I put that in my Go
They don't
Shintai
take-
deck, I get it right back.
yeah.
Maybe,
Once there's a creature, well, if I have Go Shintai out, which is a
To
creature.
think it through, because there's so many things that do pinging damage based on stuff. There's very few of those pingers that die off at some point, though,
Right.
unless they're targeted.
But the
This
problem-
sells itself.
Yeah, but
Which I
but
suspect is why it's only $2.
but again, the point with
it's from Torment.
the point with him specifically is that Indoraptor you make indestructible.
No, I get it. And
so
Indoraptor,
he wouldn't.
We're talking about
But-
him as a bigger.
But even so, this basically triggers a board wipe. Because every single time someone put it, so you can just wipe everything.
Yeah.
So there will be no creatures left. So even
Correct.
your 15/15s will
Right,
die
it's a
eventually.
4-mana board wipe.
So or a 4-mana infinite loop that keeps, and it also keeps hitting you as well. So every single time you're not only are your creatures getting hit,
Well, so
you're
now
getting hit.
Now it's turning into a mass land destruction deck because now you have to sacrifice all your permanents. So shame on you
Why do you have to sacrifice all your permanents?
for the Endoraptor.
No,
yeah.
Indoraptor is non-creature.
Non-creature.
Non-token creature, sorry.
Indoraptor, it's good. I'm just trying to understand if it's good anywhere else. I'm not sure that it is.
I mean, I have decks I would put it in.
Because the other big
Anything
thing,
where you have an indestructible commander or an indestructible creature you bring out.
but the other thing is too, because it's also hitting the players. So if you keep that loop going, everyone's getting hit
If you
over
keep
and
the loop
over.
Going, it's very good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Well,
like
I think it's pretty good.
so it's a card that I stumbled across when I was looking for cards for Indoraptor, and I was like, I've never seen anyone play this card.
And,
I never even heard of it
and we
until I
have to
looked it
remember,
up.
Like just because it's a niche card that only does something in certain decks, that's the card you're looking for.
Right.
Like those are the very powerful cards where you're like, someone's gonna be like, I've never seen that before. It's amazing in that deck. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be good in every deck, because then that card, if it was good in every deck, would probably be $100.
Right. Exactly.
Because it's old. It probably hasn't been reprinted that much.
Yep.
Yeah.
Although it probably also would have been reprinted a bunch,
That's
but
true.
because that's what we do.
Yeah,
Alright.
with our luck, it's gonna be banned in
I
2
like
weeks
I like it.
for some reason.
Yeah. That's another thing that is coming this coming year is the ban list will be updated.
Yep.
Whether they make no adjustments, they make some adjustments, that is coming. They said they would wait for the new year. So it's another thing for the coming year. But that's all the time we have for today. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to check us out, commanderspod.com. Please email us, cast@commanderspod.com. You can check out our Patreon, patreon.com/commanderspod. So here's what I'm thinking. I had said the new year we'll do the information. Episode 50 is coming up. I think that's when the announcement will be.
There you go. That's a good
So
announcement.
enough with the teasing about it. Episode 50, which is 4 episodes from now, that's when we'll announce the contest and we'll go from there.
So we all need to sit down and talk.
Yeah.
Right. So that gives us some time. But again, thanks for joining us. And don't forget, kill Andrew first.
Commander's Pod, where the stories unfold, with heroes and villains new and old. Duncan, Jeff, and Sloan guide the way in the world of EDH we play. So tune in, friends, let's draw and go. In the Commander's Pod, the love will show. From our decks to yours, we share the spark in this world of magic. We'll leave unlocked.